It was the social dumpster fire to end all social dumpster fires. I just confronted my now ex-boyfriend mid-affair and delivered a rather thorough beatdown, landing us both at the police station. And now, the jerk was refusing to settle. With painstaking care, a police officer dialed the number saved under favorites in my contacts list. I never imagined that number, untouched and gathering dust for 2 years, would actually connect. Ethan's first words hit me like a physical blow. Maya. His voice was low and gravelly through the phone. It's been 2 years. How did your standards drop this low? Right. Okay. Let's start from the beginning. I admit it, I'm just an ordinary person without grand ambitions. My life was supposed to follow a predictable path. School, work, marriage, kids. I craved stability, a quiet routine. Why was that proving so impossibly difficult? It started when I left work and headed straight to a hotel alone to catch my boyfriend cheating. Leo, bless his obliviously treacherous heart, had no idea my friend worked reception at this particular hotel. The moment he checked in with the girl, phone in hand, I was already speeding towards them. Once inside the hotel, I scanned the corridor for a suitable accessory. Coming alone, I needed something for backup. Perfect. A fire extinguisher. Solid, durable, and critically, capable of inflicting significant, non-lethal discouragement. Just as Leo and his little friend were presumably applauding their own romantic efforts, I burst through the door, fire extinguisher held high. They probably didn't even register what was happening before the first impact. I aimed carefully, mostly at Leo. It must have hurt. I was already sweating from the exertion. Maya, are you insane? You could kill someone doing this. Leo shrieked, shielding his head, completely oblivious to the expanse of flabby flesh exposed to the room. My face remained impassive as I advanced. Leo instinctively flinched away. He wasn't scared of me. He was scared of the heavy red cylinder in my hands. What are you doing? I'm warning you, don't do anything crazy. I'll call the police. Ignoring his bluster, I ripped the duvet away. A young woman with startlingly blue hair shrieked and tried to hide behind Leo's bulk. It was her, the new colleague from the office. Always so sweet and demure, calling me big sister this and Maya. I never thought she had this kind of talent. Leo, I said, my voice flat. You really live up to your name. Utterly unscrupulous. Cheating isn't a spectrum. It's a binary state, 0 times or infinite times. Contempt coiled in my gut. This man was disposable. Leo sat there awkwardly, clutching the duvet remnants to cover both their bodies. I felt zero satisfaction, no thrill of revenge. Just a profound sense of humiliation. Why was wanting a simple, stable life so damn hard? Leo and I worked at the same company. He wasn't conventionally handsome, but as others described him, he had an honest face. Back then, I was fresh off a painful breakup with my previous boyfriend. We were assigned to the same project and Leo was incredibly attentive. He'd make elaborate bento boxes for my lunch, bring back thoughtful souvenirs from every business trip, and celebrate every minor holiday imaginable with me. After a few months of this dedicated courtship, when he confessed his feelings, I accepted. Friends warned me I was rushing, grabbing at the first available lifeline. Some whispered I was just settling, broken and giving up. They weren't entirely wrong. Back then, the shadow of my ex still loomed large. I needed anyone to pull me out. Leo appeared at just the right moment. He'll give you the life you want, I told myself. Learn to be content. You can't have everything. But over the 2 years we were together, it became increasingly clear that Leo's honest face was a facade. He wasn't just attentive. He was a player cultivating connections everywhere. Maya, Leo started now, his voice regaining some composure. You saw everything. There's nothing to explain. Honestly, I've wanted to break up with you for a while. Being with you is boring. I think I only got with you out of pity. Look at you, stubborn, moody, prone to violence. No wonder you got dumped before. He spewed his venom, and the embers of my rage flared anew. He just had to mention the unmentionable. Leo, you're asking for it. I hefted the fire extinguisher again, lunging forward. The blue-haired flower didn't escape unscathed this time either. Ultimately, Leo called the police, and I was escorted to the station. After hearing the whole sordid story, the officer suggested mediation. I'd cover medical bills, lost wages, etc. But Leo, apparently high on his newfound victimhood, refused. Speaking through bruised lips that gave him a lisp, he told the officer, I can let this slide. She needs do dime. My injuries can't be for nothing, she needs to do jail time. Even the police officers chuckled. I barely managed to keep a straight face. The sheer audacity was breathtaking. Caught red-handed, yet acting like the injured party. Utterly shameless. His refusal complicated things for me, though. As I was racking my brain for a solution, a friendly policewoman approached. Someone's here to post bail for you. Huh? Who? I was genuinely surprised. We called the contact saved in your favorites list. A Mr. Ethan Sheen. I froze, my legs suddenly feeling like lead. Ethan. The man who had consumed 6 years of my life. To meet again like this. 2 years hadn't diminished his presence. He was still tall and strikingly handsome, though the boyishness in his features had matured into a deeper intensity. He looked at me, then glanced at Leo's bruised and swollen face beside me. Ethan's expression darkened further. Maya, he repeated, his voice low. It's been 2 years. How did your standards drop this low? Leave it to the devastatingly handsome ones to have the sharpest tongues. Classic Ethan, blunt as ever. Leo started to puff up in protest, but before he could speak, an officer firmly guided him into an adjacent room. Ethan and I sat facing each other. The silence crackled with awkwardness. I don't need your help, I muttered, stubbornness kicking in. It always did. Ethan looked at me and suddenly his eyes softened. A slow smile touched the corners of his lips. Wait here. I'll handle the paperwork. He stood and walked away. I watched his familiar back, momentarily lost in the past. I'd seen that back countless times, including the very last time, when he walked away from me down a familiar street, disappearing at the end without a backward glance. Ethan Sheen. My ex-boyfriend. He owned my entire university experience in the first years of my working life. 6 years all given to him. It started beautifully. I genuinely believed we could last forever. A simple life. Dating, marriage, kids. But fate had other plans. Who could have predicted that the boy who once braved a downpour late at night to buy me cold medicine, who set off fireworks below my dorm window on my birthday during the first snowfall, who carried me piggyback all the way back to campus when my feet ached from shopping, would one day abandon me on that same familiar street, walking away without turning back? All I wanted was simple stability. He couldn't give it to me. Why are you crying? Ethan was back, his brow furrowed with concern. I snapped back to the present, hastily wiping away tears. I scrambled to my feet, wanting only to escape. He didn't need to see me like this, raw and exposed. But he caught up, grabbing my wrist, gently but firmly guiding my stumbling form into his car. I can take a taxi. My hand hadn't even reached the door handle before the locks clicked shut. You won't find a cab easily this time of night. Besides, it's not safe for you alone. He started the engine, turning on the heat. The warm air carried the faint, comforting scent of jasmine, my favorite. Don't misunderstand, I said, trying desperately to regain composure, to salvage my shredded dignity. I didn't know the police would call you. We don't need to be strangers, Maya. He glanced over, his deep eyes seeming to see right through me. You seem afraid of me. Just like old times. Whenever I'd done something mischievous, that intense gaze would break down my defenses within seconds. 2 years later, I thought I'd be stronger. Apparently not. What do you want me to do? I snapped, turning away, pressing myself against the car door, needing distance. I got cheated on, dragged to a police station by the scumbag, and now you get to witness my humiliation. Are you satisfied? Let me out. I don't want to owe you anything. He suddenly pulled the car over to the side of the road. He let out a slow breath and leaned towards me. My breath hitched. You don't owe me anything, Maya, he said softly, his proximity overwhelming. I'm the one who owes you. I hadn't expected that. My gaze met his and a maelstrom of buried emotions. Anger, sadness, longing threatened to erupt. Click. He fastened my seatbelt. Then he sat back, restarting the car. I fell silent. The warmth and the familiar scent were oddly comforting, slowly easing the tight knot of tension in my chest. He reached up and loosened his tie. A dark, diagonally striped tie. The one I bought him with my very first paycheck. He still wore it? Given the expensive suit he wore and the luxury car he drove, that tie seemed out of place now. I always have good luck when I wear this tie, Ethan said, glancing at me with a grin, a hint of playful pride in his eyes. I remembered. He wore it for his successful job interview for crucial project meetings. He claimed it was his lucky charm, vowing to wear it every day. He used to joke that I was his anchor, his magic pillar, and once he made his fortune, he'd buy a big house and hide me away in it. A shame I never saw that day. Ethan drove me back to my apartment building, an old, slightly run-down place. "Why haven't you moved closer to the office?" he asked, looking up at my floor, his expression thoughtful. "I'm used to it here. Moving is too much hassle," I mumbled, offering a weak excuse. We had lived here together for 2 years after graduation. Initially, it was because the rent was cheap. Later, we simply grew attached to it. Those were happy times, genuinely happy. I meticulously planned our future, saving money, browsing apartment listings, budgeting every penny. I wanted a home with him just for us. It didn't need to be big, just enough. We didn't need a lot of money, just enough. But his vision was completely different from mine. "I want to start my own business," he'd announced one day, eyes shining with ambition. "The market's good right now. I want to try. If I don't take risks while I'm young, I'll regret it when I'm old. Maya, you'll support me, right?" Faced with his overwhelming enthusiasm, I hesitated. The future he painted was tempting, glittering with potential, but all I truly craved was a simple, ordinary life. Truthfully, we were both incredibly stubborn. Without discussing it with me further, he quit his stable job, throwing himself into networking, chasing clients, endless meetings and dinners. Days would pass without me seeing him. The longest stretch was 2 weeks. He came back reeking of alcohol, utterly exhausted, pushing me to my breaking point. During that time, I'd had an appendectomy. Alone. Because I couldn't reach him. "Ethan, I can't do this anymore." I finally broke down. "I don't know what you're doing all day. Where are you when I need you? I just want a stable life. Can't you quit this startup dream? Can't we just find regular jobs again?" "Maya." He looked at me, his eyes bloodshot and filled with crushing disappointment. "I thought you understood." "No, I don't understand you." "Then go find someone who does. Let's stop torturing each other. Let's break up." Tears streamed down my face as I said the words, but my heart screamed the opposite. "He cares about me," I thought desperately. "He'll change." I turned my back to him on the bed. After a long silence, I heard the slam of the front door. I cried all night. Outside, the rain fell all night. The next day, he returned to pack his things. "I don't want to hold you back." "I'm sorry," he said coolly, dropping the words like stones, leaving me shivering in the wreckage of our life. 6 years. He threw it all away just like that. Left me on that familiar street and walked away without looking back. 2 years later, returning to this place. Everything had changed. And nothing had. "It's late." Ethan's voice pulled me from the memories. "You've been through a lot today. Go get some rest." A flicker of bitterness crossed his eyes, quickly masked by a gentle smile. Returning here, I wondered what he was feeling. "Okay. Goodbye." I turned and headed upstairs. Only after I reached my apartment and switched on the light did I hear his car drive away. I collapsed onto my bed, physically exhausted, but my mind refused to shut down. Every time I closed my eyes, all I saw was him, Ethan. The next day, running on minimal sleep and sporting impressive dark circles, I went to work. Neither Leo nor Sky, the blue-haired betrayer, showed up, probably taking a few days off to nurse their wounds and egos. I sat down ready to dive into work when my phone rang. "Leo, that persistent pest." "Maya, don't think I'm scared just because you have backup. I'm not accepting any settlement. Get ready to be sued. I'll make sure everyone knows what you did. See what company hires a violent lunatic like you." I couldn't even be bothered to reply. He was like a grasshopper in late autumn, annoying but not long for this world. Then, another voice piped up on the line. "Skies. Maya sis, I know you were angry yesterday, but you can't blame us entirely. After all, I'm young, I have a great body, and most importantly, I have a good temper. If Leo suddenly fell for someone else, maybe you should reflect on your own issues too? We won't settle, but you will pay the medical bills. I'll try to talk some sense into him." I almost laughed out loud. How did I manage to attract such shameless, morally bankrupt individuals? 2 at once. I should buy a lottery ticket. Just as I was about to unleash a verbal counterattack, the office director walked over. I quickly hung up. A shame I couldn't educate those 2 degenerates in person, but a text message would have to suffice. Amidst the chaos of the hotel room raid, I'd had the presence of mind to snap a few photos. Now was their time to shine. With a few taps, I sent the pictures featuring two distinct piles of pale, flabby flesh directly to both Leo and Sky. Caption: Trash meets dumpster. A match made in hell. Enjoy paying the price. Satisfied, I leaned back in my chair, imagining their horrified expressions. Sweet, sweet vindication. No? I glanced at my phone again. The blood rushed to my head. Oh dear God. I'd accidentally sent the message and the photos to the entire company group chat. Well, that escalated quickly. Everyone knew now. Notifications exploded on my screen. Today's top company news. Juicy. Whoa, quite pale. What's paying the price? Is that edible? Office director. Maya, what is this inappropriate content in the company chat? Delete it immediately. I scrambled to retract the message, sweat beading on my forehead. Just then my direct supervisor sent a message to the group. Well done, Maya. Supported. I stared dumbfounded. Was the sky falling? Emboldened, the dam of my pent-up fury finally broke. I found all the photos I'd taken, quickly compiled them into an album, added some dramatic background music, created a short video, and posted that to the group chat too. My second rogue operation sent the chat into absolute meltdown. People started tagging Leo and Sky relentlessly. Leo, recommend that pricey dish? Leo, didn't know you were hoarding so much pork. Nice physique. Sky has sharp eyes, saw right through Leo's layers. Leo was the first to attempt damage control. Maya has a crush on me and couldn't handle rejection, so she's retaliating. Use your own judgment, everyone. Half an hour later, the hitherto silent Sky was forced to issue her own clarification. We're in a consensual relationship. There's nothing improper. I snorted, then quickly typed, feigning surprise. Oops, sent to the wrong chat. After achieving peak social death, the pair became the hottest topic in the company, and I faced the consequences of my actions, albeit positive ones. Maya, the director called me in later. Leo has been temporarily suspended. You'll handle the client meeting tomorrow. He gave me the details and dismissed me. Back home that evening, I decided to clear out anything related to Leo. Honestly, he was stingy. There weren't any significant gifts. Most of what he had given me didn't suit my taste and had been relegated to dusty corners. Get lost, scumbag, I muttered, rummaging through a high shelf. Suddenly, a small box tumbled down, hitting me squarely on the head. Ouch! The sharp pain made me lose my balance, and I fell off the stool I was standing on. Rubbing my bruised ankle, I glared around, searching for the offending object. But when my eyes landed on it, my anger evaporated. A small square box tied with a blue velvet ribbon. I brushed off the dust, revealing its familiar surface. I knew what was inside without opening it. Some things are hidden away out of dislike. Others out of fear. Like this ring box. I'd found it after Ethan left. The diamond wasn't huge, but the band was my size. He must have hidden it, planning to propose. The inner lining was subtly patterned with my initials. But in the end, the ring remained and its owner was gone. I never thought I'd see Ethan again, let alone under such embarrassing circumstances. He seemed genuinely well, successful even. Maya Chow wasn't the type to begrudge others their happiness, but still it stung. So the man who claimed he'd never be okay without me had, after all, achieved the life he desired. And it truly had nothing to do with me anymore. The deepest affections often can't be held on to. Perhaps it's better to forget each other, drifting apart like strangers in the vast river of life. The next evening, I arrived at the restaurant for the client meeting. The clients hadn't arrived yet. Maya, my director sidled up. This client is a big deal. Young but already built a huge company. Yeah, added my supervisor. And I hear he's single, never married. Maya, the director continued with a meaningful look. Be enthusiastic tonight. Maybe there's an opportunity for you. They were ostensibly playing matchmaker, but the subtext was clear. Ply the client with alcohol. Deals like this, heavy on socializing, had always been Leo's territory. But with Leo socially deceased and suspended, the mess landed squarely in my lap. Just then the door opened. The young and talented client finally arrived. Mr. Chin, we've been waiting for you. Both my bosses leaped up, plastering on Chan Mei fawning smiles. I dutifully stood as well, turning towards the entrance. But when I saw the face of the man walking in, my steps faltered. I wanted to shrink back, but it was too late. He bypassed everyone else, extending his hand directly to me first. We meet again. he said, his voice low and resonant. Ethan. Why did he sound so certain? Hello, Mr. Cheen, I managed, awkwardly shaking his warm hand. The contact sent a jolt through me, and I quickly withdrew my hand, retreating behind my director. My bosses, though perhaps past their prime now, weren't fools. They'd had their share of romantic entanglements in their youth. They instantly grasped the connection between Ethan and me. Suddenly, I became their prized asset. Every other sentence seemed to include me. Maya, you held out on us. If we knew you knew Mr. Cheen, we wouldn't have gone to all this trouble to schedule a meeting. Exactly. Maya, quick toast Mr. Cheen. Old friends reuniting, you must catch up. The director personally filled my glass to the brim. I had no choice but to pick it up. Mr. Cheen, I'll drink this one. You can drink as you please. Before Ethan could respond, I downed the fiery liquid in one go. Honestly, the past few days had been humiliating enough. But only now did I truly understand the meaning of minor embarrassment compared to major catastrophe. My ex-boyfriend, wildly successful, an eligible bachelor. And me? Career middling, love life a train wreck. Seeing me drain my glass, Ethan frowned slightly before raising his own and finishing it just as quickly. The director beamed, his eyes practically screaming. This deal is sealed. Promotion and bonuses seemed to shimmer in the alcohol before me. Just as I raised my glass for another round, Ethan spoke first. Thank you both for your hard work, gentlemen. This one's for you. With Mr. Cheen raising his glass, my bosses eagerly reciprocated. For every glass Ethan drank, they felt obligated to drink two in return. Back and forth it went until my bosses could barely keep. My direct supervisor, a man nearing 50, was flushed crimson from his forehead to his neck. The other wasn't faring much better, still smiling, but his hand trembled as he held his glass. Ethan, however, looked completely unfazed. I maintained a neutral expression, but inside my thoughts were turbulent. Ethan's tolerance wasn't natural. He'd built it up. I remembered clearly, right after graduation, he couldn't handle even a drop of alcohol. Let's call it a night here, Ethan finally said. I appreciate your company's sincerity. We can discuss the remaining details at my office. Since Mr. Cheen had spoken, my bosses readily agreed. After settling the bill, they said their goodbyes to Ethan. I waited, planning to offer a polite farewell myself once they were gone. Ah, Maya, my supervisor suddenly instructed. You stay behind with Mr. Cheen for a bit. Make sure he gets to his car safely. Then you can leave. With that, they called their drivers and departed swiftly. Once they were gone, Ethan turned to me, his gaze intense. My face flushed and I awkwardly averted my eyes. Is your driver picking you up? Or did you call for one? I asked lamely, just to fill the silence. Ethan didn't answer. Instead, he reached out, his hand gently resting on my stomach. His hand. That last glass was Mao Tai, he said softly, his voice laced with concern. Is your stomach burning? His eyes were complex yet sincere. I'm not a child anymore, I retorted stubbornly, refusing to show weakness in front of him. Don't drink like that again, he said quietly. I know you don't like it. Flashes of the past flooded my mind. Those nights Ethan stumbled home drunk, vivid and painful. I remembered him passing out, cleaning up his vomit, rushing him to the hospital for a perforated ulcer. I had argued, pleaded, worried myself sick over it. But ultimately he chose the path he wanted. And now the man before me was the client, the one others carefully toasted and tried to appease. He had achieved success this way. So what? Was he mocking me now? The next second, Ethan spoke again, his voice earnest. Back then, I just thought if I could work a little harder, make a little more. Maybe you would never have to touch a drop of alcohol for work. He paused, his gaze unwavering. I'm sorry, Maya. It was still my fault. I didn't do well enough. In the cool night breeze, Ethan's face showed no sign of intoxication, only a wave of belated, profound affection. He seemed sober. Strangely, I felt a little drunk. After that night, my mind was a mess. The ring, inadvertently rediscovered, migrated from its hiding place to my dressing table. Belated tenderness is like expired candy, still sweet but potentially toxic. At the regular Monday meeting, the company announced we had secured the contract with Ethan's company. Maya deserves major credit for this. Everyone should learn from her example. The director praised lavishly, strongly hinting that the future department head position was mine. Simultaneously, The company officially issued Leo's termination notice. As for Sky, since she hadn't formally completed her onboarding, she had been let go the day after the photo incident. Office gossip flared up again. I was widely tipped as the next marketing director. Did you hear? Sky dumped Leo. Apparently, she latched onto some rich old guy. Leo saw her buying expensive bags at the mall and almost started a fight right there. Seriously, Leo has terrible taste. That Sky girl screamed green tea bitch. Maya is way prettier and classier. Yeah, traded his job for a side piece, and now look at his ex-girlfriend promotion bonus living her best life. Listening to this chatter in the restroom was frankly the most satisfying news I'd heard in ages. Pure bliss. To celebrate the successful contract, our usually frugal director splurged on a big team dinner that evening. During the meal, a few male colleagues, slightly tipsy, started making somewhat greasy jokes, trying to pry the secret of landing the deal out of me. Maya, don't tell me you have a connection with their big boss? One slurred playfully. Before I could respond, a sharp female colleague jumped in. Honestly, you men always think the worst. As if women can't achieve anything on their own merit. She lowered her voice conspiratorially. Besides, I heard Mr. Chin already has someone special. He's not the type to mess around. Her words were spoken with such certainty that my heart skipped a beat. Why? But doubt quickly surfaced around the table. What are you talking about? Mr. Chin has been single for years. A quiet girl who rarely spoke piped up suddenly. I saw an old interview with him. When asked about his love life, he only talked about his first love. Said they were together for 6 years but drifted apart because of his own stubbornness and immaturity. Perhaps sensing disbelief, the girl earnestly pulled up the interview video on her phone. Ethan's image as a devoted man was now firmly cemented. The table buzzed with envy and gossip. Only I remained silent for the rest of the evening, a strange tightness in my chest. After dinner, the sticky heat that had plagued the city for days finally broke with a sudden torrential downpour. Ride-sharing apps were impossible. I ended up sprinting through the rain to the nearest subway station. Soaked to the bone, I started sneezing uncontrollably the moment I got home. My chronic rhinitis meant colds always hit me hard. I rummaged through my medicine cabinet, only to find a single blister pack of expired cold capsules. Being sick makes you sensitive and overly dramatic. Forcing some dark humor, I took a picture of the expiration date and posted it to my social media feed. Not long after, my doorbell rang unexpectedly. Who is it? I hadn't ordered any food delivery. Thankfully, living alone in this old building had prompted me to install a video doorbell. Peering at the screen, I saw a handsome face that absolutely shouldn't have been there. I brought medicine, Ethan said, standing on my doorstep holding several bags. He looked poised to enter, so I reluctantly found a pair of slippers and handed them to him. You didn't throw these away? He asked, surprised. They were his old ones. In case guests come, I mumbled defensively. Ethan stepped inside and walked confidently to the kitchen, immediately putting water on to boil and gathering ingredients. He was clearly planning to make porridge. I recognized the dried scallops, my favorite. Back when we were together, we couldn't afford fancy seafood congee from restaurants, though I craved it. Ethan, ever resourceful, had somehow gotten a temporary job as a kitchen hand for 2 weeks, then managed to get himself fired under some pretext. He left having learned to cook several of my favorite dishes, seafood congee being one of them. I followed him into the kitchen, watching the familiar scene unfold with a bittersweet ache. Mr. Chin, I said, my voice tight. Given our current relationship, isn't this level of attention a bit unnecessary? Ethan paused briefly but didn't stop stirring. I was just worried about you. He offered no further explanation, focusing intently on his task. The porridge needed time to simmer, but the water had boiled. Ethan poured a glass and handed it to me along with a box of medicine. Here. Take these. The familiar logo on the cold medicine box. The familiar man offering it. In that instant, my carefully constructed defenses almost crumbled. I turned away abruptly, needing to regain control. I don't like seafood congee anymore. I lied, forcing harshness into my voice. It smells fishy. Mr. Chin, there's really no need to be so kind to an ex-girlfriend. The last sentence wasn't a statement. It was a warning. Before I could say more, strong arms wrapped around me from behind. I could feel Ethan trembling slightly. I never thought of you as my ex-girlfriend, he whispered, his breath warm against my ear. I always thought of you as my wife. Maya, I never once imagined marrying anyone else." His words sent my already chaotic thoughts into further disarray. After Ethan left that night, he didn't reappear unannounced. But I knew he was watching over me indirectly. The director was suddenly full of solicitous inquiries about my well-being, and a hefty bonus appeared in my account. I didn't socialize much with colleagues outside of work, but feeling obligated, I booked a private room and treated everyone to dinner for my birthday. After several rounds of drinks, an unexpected guest arrived. "Maya, happy birthday." Leo, dressed in what he likely considered his finest suit, made a grand entrance clutching a large bouquet of roses. "Maya, I know I messed up before. From now on, whether it's chopped chili fish or boiled chicken, whatever you want me to be, I'll be." He poured every ounce of his acting ability into this cringeworthy performance. "I'm not interested in those things you mentioned," I said coolly. "But..." Hearing a hint of yielding, Leo's eyes lit up instantly. I cracked my knuckles and placed a hand firmly on his shoulder. "This suit," I said conversationally. "I bought this for you, didn't I? Give it back." Before Leo could react, I yanked hard, ripping the shoulder seam of the jacket clean off his body. With the sound of tearing fabric, the already pathetic figure became utterly wretched. Laughter erupted from my colleagues as Leo's familiar flabby arm was once again exposed. "Ah, Maya, you just wait," Leo shrieked, fleeing in humiliated disarray. I smirked. "What a coward. You finally decided to show your face, you vicious woman." By the time I paid the bill and got home, Leo was waiting downstairs, still wearing the torn suit, looking disheveled and furious. He launched into a tirade, ranting and raving, but kept a cautious distance. Seeing him like this, cowardly, stupid, and utterly pathetic, disgusted me. His rambling boiled down to the same few points, the core message being, I didn't deserve to be loved. Just as I was preparing to deliver another round of life lessons, someone else moved faster. Ethan's fists flew like lightning, connecting solidly with Leo. It was over in maybe 15 seconds. Leo crumpled, effectively raising a white flag. Ethan's assistant materialized seemingly out of nowhere, efficiently hauling the now pig-faced Leo away. A cold wind gusted, making me shiver. A heavy coat, still warm from its owner, was draped over my shoulders. "Come with me," Ethan said softly. "I want to show you something." For once I didn't resist. I let him lead me to his car. Soft music played as we drove. I must have drifted off because when I woke, we were parked in a large empty field. Through the windshield, I saw Ethan outside, busy setting something up. By the time he finished, it was nearing midnight. He hurried back to the car. His pale hands slightly reddened from the cold or exertion. "Okay, just in time," he smiled, handing me a remote control. "Press it," he added playfully. "This is homemade, still experimental. It malfunctions and skewers the tires. I guess we'll be stuck here together forever." It sounded like a threat, but also an invitation. Without hesitation, I pressed the button. Beautiful fireworks soared into the night sky, exploding one after another, painting the darkness with cascades of light, like a vibrant sunset blooming at midnight. "Maya," Ethan's voice was thick with emotion beside me. "I honestly never thought I'd have the chance to celebrate your birthday with you again." Memories of the past collided with the present reality. My heart felt like it was shattering into a million pieces, yet I managed a calm smile. Ethan's eyes held a universe of unspoken feelings. Suddenly I panicked. I tried to shift my position, lost my balance, and tumbled backward awkwardly. My head hit the back seat, and my ankle twisted sharply under me. What happened? The sharp snap of my heel braking caught Ethan's attention. He leaned over, examining my ankle carefully. "Maya, you really are clumsy," he murmured gently, carefully removing my broken shoe. He opened the center console. Inside the small compartment, nestled among other things, were items I recognized instantly. All the things I used to carry, or rather, things he used to carry for me. Contact lens solution, sanitary pads, band-aids. Back then, we didn't have a car, and I was constantly having minor mishaps, forgetting things, spilling things. Ethan always carried a Maya emergency kit in his backpack. "If you were scared," he said quietly, looking up from gently rubbing my ankle, "you could have just pushed me away. You didn't have to hurt yourself." He had laid his feelings bare, making his intentions clear. It left me speechless. Sometime after midnight, we drove back into the city. My sleepiness had vanished. Once again we pulled up outside my old building. His luxury car always looked so out of place here. Yet this neighborhood held so many years of his past. "I'll carry you upstairs." Before I could protest, Ethan was out of the car, gently lifting me from the passenger seat. In the dim, echoing stairwell, the motion sensor lights clicked off after we passed each landing, plunging us into momentary darkness. Usually I'd stomp my feet or make noise, to reactivate them, partly for visibility, partly to bolster my own courage. But Ethan moved steadily upwards in the dark, unerringly finding the next step without a sound. "Ethan, are you secretly a cat? How do you navigate so perfectly in the dark?" I asked abruptly. He paused on the landing. "Those years when I came home drunk. I fell down these stairs quite a few times. Eventually, you learn the way by feel." That explained it. I remembered seeing him sometimes with random debris clinging to his clothes, green onion leaves, bits of sweet potato vines. Now I realized it must have been from stumbling into the winter vegetables our neighbors stored in the hallways. "Then why didn't you stomp? Or call out?" "The walls here are too thin," he said softly, his voice heavy with unspoken history in the darkness. "I was afraid if I made noise it would scare you." I couldn't see his expression, but I could hear the raw vulnerability in his voice. A wave of unexpected emotion washed over me. He really had done so much for me, things I never even realized. And now, here he was again, rescuing me from my own messes. The project with Ethan's company proceeded smoothly. We were all invited to their company's anniversary celebration. Ethan's company was thriving, attracting impressive talent, including many handsome single men. My female colleagues were buzzing with excitement, planning elaborate outfits, hoping to meet their Mr. Right. After much internal debate, I decided to go. The fireworks display hadn't been the end of the story. The day after my birthday, a package arrived for me at the office. Technically, Ethan had been the first person to give me a birthday gift. I just received it late because the director let me leave early for my own dinner plans. Inside the package was a beautiful sky blue evening gown. A simple note accompanied it. "Anniversary Gala, the 20th. I really hope you can come." I had been the first one invited after all. I had to admit it. Since his return, my heart had wavered. Not just because he had actually achieved his ambitious dreams, but because he remembered so many small, intimate details of our past. After a brief struggle, I decided to attend. The hotel ballroom was opulent, dazzling, and Ethan was undeniably the brightest star in the room. He stood talking with several established business leaders, radiating energy and a confident, almost aggressive ambition. I watched him from across the room, feeling the distance between us like a physical chasm, a barrier forged by time, circumstance, and unspoken hurts. Suddenly, a young woman in a shimmering silver gown approached him, tapping his shoulder. They leaned in close, discussing something important, their proximity suggesting intimacy. The woman's expression was initially worried, but seemed to ease after Ethan spoke reassuringly. She moved closer again, saying something else, and Ethan nodded frequently. They seemed perfectly attuned, sharing an effortless understanding. Even I could see it. To outsiders, it must have been blindingly obvious. "Isn't that Isabel Luo, Old Man Luo's daughter? Looks like Ethan Chen's luck is really turning," someone nearby murmured. "Yeah, if the Luo family takes a liking to him, his future is set. Haha, goes to show, being handsome and capable really pays off for a man." The surrounding chatter hummed with speculation. The ballroom lights dimmed. I watched Ethan walk onto the main stage. The woman in silver introduced him briefly and handed him the microphone. Their interaction was smooth, practiced. That silver dress glittered under the spotlights, commanding attention. Unlike my blue dress, which seemed to melt into the darkening background. As thunderous applause erupted, I turned and walked away, unable to look back. Perhaps my only piece of luck that night was catching a taxi immediately outside the hotel. Once inside the cab, the dam finally broke. I sobbed uncontrollably. The driver glanced at me in the rearview mirror and sighed. "Young lady," he said kindly, "life goes on. Tonight might be hard, but you still have tomorrow." I sniffled, trying to absorb his simple wisdom. Back home, I switched off my phone and took out the ring box. I held the ring for a long time, but couldn't bring myself to throw it away. Not because of the diamond, but because of the sincerity of the person who had intended to give it. "You have tomorrow," I whispered to the ring, tears blurring its sparkle. "I'll stay in yesterday." The Christmas season arrived quickly. blanketing the city in festive cheer. But my mood remained stubbornly gray. Intellectually, I knew I needed to move on, but the emotional aftershocks were surprisingly strong. I started looking for a new apartment, determined to begin fresh. My phone rang. I ignored it. A text message alert followed shortly after. Annoyed, I finally checked it. It was Ethan. He wanted to meet. The address he sent looked familiar. A quick map search confirmed it. The restaurant famous for its seafood congee. I texted back a curt "not convenient" and returned to packing boxes. The phone rang again. Predictably, Ethan. This time I was genuinely irritated. "Hello? Will you just leave me alone?" I snapped into the phone. The other night in the car, Ethan's calm voice interrupted. "Didn't I ask you to hold my glasses? I think you might still have them." Glasses? Confused, I located the coat I'd worn that night. Tucked deep inside an inner pocket, sure enough, was a pair of glasses. Fine. One last time. Maybe we both needed a proper sense of closure. A farewell ritual. Pulling on my coat, I stepped out into the festive streets, walking towards my final goodbye. The restaurant wasn't far, so I didn't bother with a taxi. My heart alternated between aching numbness and quiet resignation. As I got closer, I realized the restaurant was gone. In its place stood a small, charming church. Confused, I saw people gathered near the entrance singing Christmas carols. The solemn, beautiful sound drew me closer. A choir stood on a makeshift outdoor stage, singing with passion. A crowd had gathered to listen. And then I saw him, Ethan, standing near the edge of the crowd. As the carol ended, he turned and walked towards me. He was wearing a bulky suit jacket. Suddenly, the lights illuminating the church changed color, and festive music began playing over loudspeakers. But the melody sounded strangely familiar yet off-key. The dispersing crowd paused, murmuring about the lights and the odd music. Ethan reached me and gently removed his suit jacket. Underneath, is that? I stammered. He was wearing a pale blue, slightly comical-looking robe. It was the temporary costume used by the choir during our university's anniversary celebration. Years ago, I remember being in charge of logistics back then, constantly mixing up the costumes. Ethan used to tease me, saying I clearly wasn't cut out for domesticity. "Maya," he said, his eyes soft. "The moment I saw you wearing this robe back then, that's when I fell for you." He smiled wistfully. "Even though you kept giving me the wrong size, I was secretly thrilled. Because it meant I had another excuse to talk to you." He smiled, then dropped to one knee. The crowd gasped, phones immediately emerging to capture the moment. The atmosphere shifted, charged with anticipation. Back then, Ethan's voice was low but clear. "I was immature. I left you standing alone on that street." His gaze met mine, filled with raw sincerity. "I will never, ever do that again. Maya Chow, marry me." His earnest plea triggered cheers and encouraging shouts from the surrounding strangers. Caught in the spotlight, I felt incredibly awkward. There were still so many unanswered questions. Hesitantly, I voiced my doubts about Isabel Luo, about the timing, about his past actions. I braced myself for his anger, his defensiveness. Instead, he answered each question swiftly and directly. Isabel Luo was indeed an investor, using the collaboration with his company as a cover to maneuver assets for an upcoming family power struggle. As for the past, I was too insecure, he admitted. His proud head bowed slightly, revealing the vulnerability beneath. "The more I loved you, the more terrified I was of failing you." He looked up, his eyes filled with deep emotion. "I bought that ring, but then I thought the diamond was too small. Not good enough for you. You were the person I wanted to love for the rest of my life. I didn't want you to feel slighted, not even in the smallest way." The wind felt sharp and cold, but his words wrapped around me like the warmest embrace. Belatedly, the warmth I craved had finally arrived. Thank goodness he came back. Epilogue. 1 year later, the Luo family successfully completed their corporate acquisition, and Ethan's company underwent a significant transformation. He expanded into new industries, and I found myself working alongside him as his executive assistant, busy navigating the complexities of the growing enterprise. "Secretary Chow, are you busy?" Ethan's voice, husky and languid from just waking up, purred through my Bluetooth earpiece. In front of colleagues, I could only manage professional-sounding hums and yes, sirs. "Don't make those sounds," he teased, his voice dropping lower. "They sound just like last night. You'll give me ideas." He knew perfectly well I was in the office, yet he delighted in provoking me. Damn him. Teasing me first thing in the morning. You have interviews scheduled for 10 a.m. today, sir. Please ensure you attend, I replied crisply, maintaining my professional facade before abruptly ending the call. The perks package salary, multiplied by 10, full benefits, plus a sexy boss offering online bedside services, had seemed incredibly appealing when I agreed to take this job. Clearly, I'd been temporarily insane. The interview candidates arrived. I joined the HR manager in the interview room, reviewing resumes. One by one, candidates presented themselves. As I scanned the files, a familiar, rather plump face entered my field of vision. Before I could fully process the surprise, he began his self-introduction. Good morning, everyone. My name is Leo Wu. I looked up, meeting his eyes, and barely suppressed a laugh. Leo really was both cowardly and clueless. Applying for a job at his romantic rival's company? Seriously? Mr. Wu, I interrupted his self-promoting spiel coolly. You can leave now. Leo stared dumbfounded. Then, recognizing me, his face contorted with rage. I thought I recognized that voice. So, it's my violent ex-girlfriend. He sneered. Well, look at you climbing the ladder. Made it to management, have we? He puffed out his chest. And who are you exactly to make decisions here? Do you even have the authority to represent this company? A slow smile spread across my face. I leaned forward slightly and delivered my first ever truly smug declaration. Actually? I'm the boss's wife. Leo's jaw dropped. He looked utterly poleaxed. And I? I beamed. The morning's little interruption passed quickly, but word inevitably reached Ethan. Hello there, Mrs. Boss, he drawled, leaning casually against my desk later that afternoon, his eyes glinting with amusement. How about we work some overtime together? This afternoon? If you perform well, I might consider giving you another promotion. His tone shifted abruptly, becoming mock serious as he talked about work and raises. I raised an eyebrow, confused. He just grinned wickedly. Because if I happen to die in your arms from exertion, he murmured, leaning closer, then this whole company becomes yours. And then his lips captured mine, a fierce, possessive kiss as he steered me towards the private inner office. My overtime had begun whether I liked it or not. Honestly, being the boss's wife? It's harder work than you'd think.